world keeps handing us moments that don't fit neatly into anything we can explain. And tonight's collection is one of those reminders. Some of what you're about to see has already sparked arguments online. Some of it is barely known outside a small circle of researchers. And one clip near the end genuinely stopped me in my tracks the first time I watched it. So stick around, because the strangest piece is saved for last. And I want to know afterward which one convinced you the most. If this kind of footage keeps you up at night in a good way, tapping like actually helps this reach more people who love digging into this stuff. And subscribing means you won't miss the next batch of strange sightings we track down. Let's start close to the present on July 11th, 2026, somewhere in California. A person stepped outside at night and noticed something hanging in the sky that wasn't moving the way aircraft move. No steady climb, no descent pattern, nothing that matched a landing approach or a holding pattern. What they filmed instead was a boxy, angular shape outlined by a scattering of red and green lights, sitting almost motionless before drifting off at an angle no commercial or private aircraft would take. There was no engine hum, no rotor noise, nothing you'd expect from a helicopter or drone. Would you have kept filming or bolted back inside? Let me know in the comments, because reactions to this one online have been split right down the middle. From there we jump to the coast of Huatulco, Mexico, where a beach day turned into something people are still talking about. The date given was June 24th, 2026. A tourist lying out on the sand noticed a smooth, disc-shaped object gliding overhead, low enough and slow enough that at first they assumed it was a drone somebody nearby was flying for fun. It didn't behave like one, no sound, no wobble, no controller nearby, just a clean saucer-like silhouette crossing the sky in full daylight while beachgoers pointed and shouted. What's interesting is that when this clip got run through several independent AI-based authenticity checks, none of them flagged it as an obvious fake. That doesn't prove anything definitively, but it's enough to make you pause. Have any of you been to that stretch of coastline? I'd be curious if locals there have their own stories about strange lights offshore. Rewinding a bit further, back to 2020 somewhere in the United States, a witness happened to glance up and spot something with an unusual silhouette. Two broad, symmetrical shapes extending from a central body, giving the whole object a butterfly-like outline as it drifted along at a leisurely pace. The person grabbed a photo first, then switched to video as the object continued moving away. According to their account, it made no sound whatsoever, and the closer-up image shows enough structural detail to rule out a kite, balloon, or drone with any confidence. It genuinely reads as manufactured, just not manufactured by anyone we know of. If you had to guess a purpose for a shape like that, what would you say it's built for? Now here's one that tends to divide a room every time it's shown. Berlin, Germany, near the Deutsches Historisches Museum, sometime in 2020. A street-facing security camera caught something moving down the road at a speed that genuinely doesn't look human, an almost translucent shape blurring past fast enough that the air pressure alone knocked over two nearby trash bins, scattering the contents across the pavement. Watch it enough times and you start to see a rough outline, something upright, something that moves with intent rather than just wind or debris. When this one made the rounds, plenty of viewers floated the idea that we're looking at some kind of enhanced human capability rather than anything extraterrestrial, which honestly opens up a whole different rabbit hole. Do you lean toward hidden ability or misidentified anomaly on this one? I go back and forth myself. Sticking with unconventional shapes, there's a 2022 clip, likely from somewhere in Mexico, that doesn't get nearly enough attention. Someone was already filming a disc-shaped object hovering at a distance when a helicopter happened to approach the same airspace. Instead of holding position or slowly retreating, the object simply shot straight upward in what looked like a fraction of a second, the kind of acceleration that would liquefy a human pilot instantly. That single moment, instant vertical acceleration with zero visible thrust plume, is one of the details researchers point to most often when arguing these aren't conventional aircraft of any nation. There are also second-hand reports from people who tried flying drones closer to sightings like this one, only to have the drones lose power or control entirely, though that detail is harder to verify. Would you have flown a drone toward it knowing that risk? Next, an older recording, dated to 2014, that keeps resurfacing because the image quality is unusually sharp for nighttime footage. Somewhere in the United States, a person with a capable camera managed to capture a large, Solid triangular shape hovering with almost no movement, lights positioned at each corner in the pattern so often associated with triangular WAPs. What sets this one apart from typical triangle sightings is the sense of depth and volume in the object. It doesn't read as flat, but as a genuine three-dimensional pyramid-like structure. That detail alone has convinced a lot of longtime researchers this isn't one of the classic 3B-style reports people usually bring up, but something else entirely, possibly something with no earthly designation at all. If this is real, what do you think a shape like that is optimized for? Stealth, lift, something else? From there, over to New York City in 2010, where a film crew was up in a helicopter shooting footage for what was supposed to be an ordinary advertisement. Nobody on board expected the shoot to end with someone shouting about an object near the World Trade Center area. But that's exactly what happened. Something unidentified streaked past the helicopter at a speed close enough that the sound of displaced air is audible on the recording itself. For a moment, the object appears to duck behind a building, and when it reappears, it's already on the opposite side, faster than the geometry should reasonably allow. Whatever it was, it committed to a close, high-speed pass that no jet, drone, or bird could realistically pull off in that airspace. If you've seen the raw version of this clip anywhere, or know the production crew involved, that's exactly the kind of lead that helps track down more context. So feel free to drop it below. And finally, saved for last, because it's genuinely one of the strangest silhouettes I've come across. A 2019 recording from someone's home, location unspecified, but the language spoken in the background might help narrow it down if any of you recognize it. The witness is filming through what sounds like a window or doorway, clearly startled, calling out for someone else in the house to come look. What they're pointing at has a handful of thin, rod-like appendages extending downward and outward, almost leg-like, paired with two raised structures on top that appear to shimmer or give off a faint glow, like they're generating or discharging some kind of energy. The overall impression is less flying saucer and more mechanical insect. Something closer to a dragonfly built out of metal and light than anything we typically associate with the word UFO. The footage is clean enough that you can actually study the structure before it lifts off and disappears from frame. If you can identify the language being spoken, or anything else about the setting, that would go a long way toward figuring out where in the world this was actually filmed. So that's the set for tonight. A boxy craft with no sound over California, a daylight saucer off a Mexican beach, a silent butterfly-shaped object drifting through American skies, a blur of impossible speed on a German street camera, a disc that outran a helicopter in an instant, an old triangular hovering giant that still looks sharper than footage shot today, a close call above New York, and a mechanical dragonfly caught by someone who clearly wasn't expecting to see it. Out of everything shown here, which one would you want investigated further if you had the resources to do it? Drop your pick in the comments, and if any of you have run across similar footage from your own country or city, this is exactly the kind of community where sharing it matters, because half the time these things only get pieced together when enough people compare notes. If this kept your attention, hitting like tells us to keep tracking down stranger footage like this, and subscribing means the next unexplained clip that surfaces lands directly in front of you instead of getting lost in the feed. Thanks for sticking around till the end, and I'll see you in the next one.